Confusion during the search for Dorner. LAPD officers opened fire twice overnight, thinking they had Dorner in their sights. Both happened in Torrance, and in both cases, innocent people were in the line of fire. KCAL's Jeff Nguyen is live in Torrance with new information on both incidents. Jeff?
Well, Sharon, tonight, one of the women who was shot by police is in the ICU, and in both of these cases, the people involved have signed up with lawyers. This evening, a Torrance neighborhood was sealed off hours after LAPD officers mistakenly opened fire on this royal blue Toyota Tacoma. The shooting left 47-year-old Margie Carranza with minor injuries to her hand after glass shattered on it. Her mother, 71-year-old Emma Hernandez, is in intensive care at Harbor UCLA Medical Center and listed in good condition after being shot in the back. Tonight, the women asked their new attorney to speak to us.
There was no warning, there was no orders or no commands, just gunshots.
Glenn Jonas says his clients were delivering newspapers for the LA Times this morning when a police car with its doors open was in front of them. The women didn't think anything of it, so they continued with their work. Officers were protecting the home of a high-ranking LAPD member during the search for suspected cop killer Christopher Dorner, who was believed to be driving a dark-colored Nissan truck.
The vehicle's a different color. The license plate doesn't match. There's nothing there for you to start shooting people. And even if they had the person in question, Mr. Dorner, you still have to give him an opportunity to get out. You can't just start administering street justice.
During a news conference on the Dorner case, LAPD Chief Charlie Beck talked about how officers thought the women's truck matched the description of Dorner's pickup.
Tragically, we believe that this was a case of mistaken identity by the officers.
Also this morning, just blocks away, a second officer-involved shooting happened. In this case, Torrance police opened fire on this black Honda truck as they were rushing to help with the first shooting. Tonight, the driver of this truck is also talking to attorneys as well. Now, the driver of that second truck tells us that he was driving down the road when he encountered a Torrance police officer who asked him to turn around. In that process, as he was turning around, a second police car rammed his car, he says, and then opened fire, narrowly missing him after bullets flew through his windshield. And tonight, the Torrance Police Department, too, says this was also a case of mistaken identity. Tonight, we are live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to GGN. Today is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2013. I'm Darko. I'm going to just start off with a bunch of weird things I've been seeing going on in the news. But a suspect in prison chief's death was freed 4 years earlier. This is the Colorado police chief that was killed. The man suspected of killing Colorado's prison chief was still supposed to be behind bars. So again, they say it was a clerical error. So you can go there and check it out, but it says here that they also have a strong connection between the killing and the murder of Nathan Leon and the pizza delivery driver who was found dead in suburban Golden, Colorado. So they say that Ebel was killed 2 days later in northern Texas in a gun battle with authorities that left a sheriff's deputy wounded. This individual's ankle bracelet failed days before Colorado killings. An ankle bracelet monitoring the whereabouts of the parolee Evan Ebel stopped working 3 days before he allegedly murdered Denver pizza delivery man and 5 days before the Colorado prison chief. This was actually happened right on the eve of Colorado passing gun legislation. So the thing to remember too is that this whole thing is shrouded around him being a white supremacist. Killing of DA, district attorney, and wife in Texas raises fear of wider plot against law enforcement officials. The last time a prosecutor was gunned down in Texas is Kaufman County in January. So it goes on here, says that Mark Hassey was shot to death by an unknown assailant January 31st. And also, just 2 years later, this is this story, this McLellan and his wife were found shot dead in their home in East Dallas, Texas. This, of course, are raising fears of plot to kill law enforcement officials. They wouldn't say whether the two prosecutors' deaths were related. He wouldn't say if the home showed any signs of forced entry. He wouldn't say if there was any indications that a white supremacist group was involved. Then I saw this article today. 2 dangerous inmates escaped from Texas jail. Texas authorities are using helicopters and dogs to search for 2 dangerous Texas inmates who escaped from jail this morning by squeezing through a gate. It's like a movie or something, leaving behind their black and white prison suits on the railroad tracks behind the jail. It was at a place that basically processed people until they were seen in court. There was 80 inmates who were held there waiting a trial. So they go on to say how dangerous they are, and they were actually put in special, it says they were basically on a special type of prison cell separated, but somehow they were put out on the recreation yard to have outside rec, and undoubtedly squeezed through the gate and took off. So something doesn't smell right. The drug cartels dispatch agents deep inside the United States. This is coming after the United States is going after big banks for, well, supposedly going after them for money laundering with the drug cartels, basically laundering money from drug cartels into U.S. banks. Well, they call themselves U.S. banks. Mexican drug cartels, whose operatives once rarely ventured beyond the U.S. border, are dispatching some of their most trusted agents to live and work deep inside the U.S., an emboldened presence that experts believe is meant to tighten their grip on the world's most lucrative narcotics market and maximize profits. So it said they could, the syndicate could move into American interior, and says here it could be harder than ever to dislodge and pave the way to expand into other criminal enterprises such as prostitution, kidnapping, extortion, rackets, and money laundering. Yeah, so the government doesn't like competition, along with all other criminal crony corporations that they allow to exist that are too big to fail, too big to jail. Some of these U.S. cartel operatives are suspected of running drug distribution networks in at least 9 non-border states, often in middle-class suburbs in the Midwest, South, and Northeast. Military's war on drugs is back as U.S. Navy looks to net big catches in the Pacific. So instead of just letting it go and helping these big drug cartels go under by legalizing or decriminalizing it, this boat was sailing in the Pacific as part of Operation Martillo, a mission launched in January 2012 by the U.S. with Central American nations in an unprecedented militarization of the war on drugs. But they basically go on there and say how they go on and harass fishing vessels and stuff like that, looking for contraband. UPS to pay $40 million for illegal drug deliveries. It says here that the U.S. agrees to $40 million fine to end a U.S. probe into deliveries for illegal online pharmacies. They also agree to block further deliveries from suspect pharmacies. FedEx is still under investigation, they say. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that the Atlanta-based company would also take steps to block illicit online drug dealers from using their delivery services. The fine amount is the money UPS collected from suspect online pharmacies. So we're talking about a non-free market here. You have FedEx, UPS, Pepsi, Coke, Microsoft, Apple. This is not a free market. This is completely controlled capitalist system. And so it just kind of makes you laugh. You know, these two giants are getting the Department of Justice coming after them for what? So the government can maintain a monopoly on pharmaceutical drugs. It takes $8 to make most of them, and they charge anywhere from, you know, what, $20 to $2,000 for some prescription drugs. So they don't want people that aren't don't have the means to pay these overinflated prices that the government keeps going. But what? They want to clamp down on them so they can't find a cheaper alternative. Confederate Heritage Month is appalling. It says yes, Georgia really does celebrate this. It says here when this John Avalon heard yesterday that Georgia is celebrating Confederate Heritage and History Month, he thought it was an April Fool's joke. But he says, no, it's real, signed into law by Governor in 2009 to celebrate by 6 other states. And says here he talked to the backer about it in the email. He claims the South was peaceful, rural, and Christian during the pre-Civil War slavery era. He insists to Avalon that the history book misrepresents that era, making the South ought to be evil, which is, I agree with 100% completely. This isn't heritage, this is wholesale historic revisionism. So that's what they say for people that try to question anything surrounding World War II and the Holocaust. And it's ugly stuff, he says. That's why most people don't even want to go there. It took our country 100 years to bind the wounds of the Civil War sufficiently to begin truly following through on the promise of ending slavery by ending segregation, which is complete bullshit, because the United States actually had in the North segregation. That was government-induced segregation. Racial segregation in the North. So they didn't give a crap about, you know, I don't know, I'm preaching to the choir again here, but they didn't give a crap about slavery. Abraham Lincoln was basically admitted. He just wanted to preserve the Union. So it says here, it's naive to pretend, as so many do today. I don't think so. I think most people are just zombies and believe it. I mean, their rewriting of history, that this struggle for equal rights was not deeply opposed by many who are still alive, arguing in favor of separatism and hate. So it had to do with trade tariffs and what the North was doing. That's why they call it the War of Northern Aggression. They didn't call it a civil war. Again, that's just another propaganda rewriting of history. So it says here they're hiding their true emotions under superficially high-minded talk about states' rights. So he says the neo-Confederate movement does exist, and it's scary, he adds, to get everybody scared. You don't want them to think for themselves, and, you know. So a lot of people in the comment boards are seeing through it, though, but I guess there's other people calling them Nazis. On that note, Greek neo-Nazis plot U.S. expansion. We've covered this before in Europe about the rise of these in Italy and France and parts of Scandinavia, but mostly in Greece. Golden Dawn's overtures are not going over so well. So it says here, Greece's fiercely anti-immigrant Golden Dawn Party is a new group it's targeting for membership. The immigrants, people that basically emigrated to other places. The biggest ones are United States, Britain, Australia. And it's funny how they do that. I mean, they shouldn't even have to really be carrying swastikas and stuff. All you have to do is just say, we want to basically stop a flood of immigrants in our country and a changing of our culture, and you'll be labeled a Nazi, so, or an isolationist if you don't want this force changed on you. Associated Press drops term illegal immigrant. New agency style guide bans the term. From now on, AP will no longer refer to people living in the country as illegal immigrants or illegals. The term illegal immigration remains in play because the word illegal describes an action and not a person. Navy veteran David Schmecker has guns confiscated by force in Connecticut. He's a 50-year-old honorably discharged Navy veteran with no criminal past and no previous history of any mental disorder, and his gun permit revoked. Yeah, he's had his gun permit revoked and his guns forcibly confiscated by police without true cause or reasonable justification. He wasn't arrested but was forced to submit to a stressful interrogation under fear and duress and incarceration. Talking about controlled opposition, NRA consultant recommends a gun on every school campus. So remember what I said, the NRA doesn't represent gun owners, they represent the military-industrial complex, mainly the weapons manufacturing complex. And so it's much like this movie I just watched yesterday, Promised Land, and I hate to ruin the ending, but it's basically, that's what this movie's all about. He is the bad guy, and then you got the environmentalist, the good guy, and it comes out that what? Oh, the environmentalist actually works for this natural fracking company. So go figure, right? Democrats proposed $10,000 fine for gun owners who don't have insurance. So they're proposing new federal gun control idea, mandatory liability insurance for gun owners. Face $10,000. The United Nations passes the sweeping international arms regulation viewed by some as a Second Amendment override. And this was actually an attack against other countries too, because other countries like Russia and China and them, they were saying that this is actually allowing, it's a double standard because it's not going to stop the United States and the UK and these Western countries from arming terrorists to overthrow independent sovereign nations such as Syria, like they did with Libya. But I mean, any bill that requires countries to regulate and control the export of weaponry such as battle tanks, combat vehicles, and aircraft, whatever, you know, you're no longer a sovereign nation if you can't do stuff like that. Connecticut responds to Newtown with groundbreaking gun control laws, so they were able to exploit this massacre that some people say didn't exist. I wouldn't go that far, but either way, good job. So it includes dangerous weapon offender registry, those are patriots and anti-government people, and the requirement to obtain eligibility certificates to buy bullets, rifles, and shotguns. In Georgia, one town is saying they have a new law that says you must have a gun. This isn't the first place though, so there's another state that tried doing this. It goes into effect in 10 days. The Family Protection Ordinance, they call it, was passed last month by a vote of 5-0. The purpose was to deter criminal activity and to make a statement to show the town's support of the Second Amendment, which grants U.S. citizens the right to bear arms. If you fail to have a gun, you will not be prosecuted, so it's just encouraging it. Hundreds of teens mob pedestrians on Chicago's Magnificent Mile. Several teens were arrested after dozens of mob groups began attacking pedestrians. Now, they say that there was like 400 of you, but they only arrested 28, and they said 11 other teens were charged in the same misdemeanor charges as they attacked a group of women on the CTA Red Line. Citizens or people that live around there are concerned because this is the second, this is just another year. Last year was the second summer in which flash mobs were sweeping the big cities through the U.S. And now they're starting up again as the weather's getting warmer, so this is a new. The new normal: packs of teenage boys stalking homeless people and attacking them. Setting homeless women on fire. Beating a homeless man to death as part of a dare. 4 teens murder homeless man for $1. This is GGN. Thank you.